But anyway, y'all, thank you so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed it. What the fuck? Babe!
Got him!
Why do you do that? Oh my God. Jacob just threw this down the stairs at me. This fake roach. You want to get murdered? Hate you. It is that time again. Oh my gosh, it is so crazy how fast time is going. It is the end of July and I'm doing my July wrap up. I feel like I just did my June wrap up like yesterday. I don't know. The time is just flying, but I'm not mad about it. You know why? Because I hate summer and I'm ready for summer to be done. But I'm gonna need for fall to not go by this fast. Thank you very much. Anyway, hello, my friends. If you are new to my channel, my name is Crystal. I'm your fellow book lover, your fellow bookworm. If you are watching this video, I'm assuming you love books and you love reading as much as I do. So thank you for being here. I hope you have fun while you are here in my YouTube space. Let's talk about some books today. I'm gonna be talking about all the books I read in July and just sharing a little bit about what the book is about, giving my rating, my thoughts, but I will not be doing any spoilers. If I ever do spoilers in my videos, which is very, very rare, I will give you a heads up ahead of time. I'm not just gonna throw spoilers at you, you know? Because that's rude. Well, let's get into it. Let's talk about all the books I read in July. I read 5 books total, which actually is a lot more than I expected to read because one of the books I read was 1,000 pages. And so I thought it was gonna take me a lot longer to read that book than it actually did. So my goal for July was 3 books, but I actually ended up reading 5. So go me. First book I read in July was Kingdom of Ash. This is the last and final book in the Throne of Glass series. This is the 1,000-page book I was talking about. This is a beast. This is a beast of a book. Now, I will say it is very hard for me to talk about this book without spoiling anything because this is obviously part of the series. It's the last book in the series. And if I tell you what this book is about, it would basically spoil a lot of the rest of the series. And I don't want to do that. So I will just talk generally about this and just say that the entire Throne of Glass series is basically about the character of Celaena, and she is ultimately just trying to save her kingdom and save her people. And of course, she runs into a lot of problems along the way. Obviously, that is a very general description of the series because this is a very long series. It is very in-depth. There are a lot of characters, there's a lot of detail, a lot of world building. And this is a fantasy series, so there's a lot of magic. A lot of the characters have special powers. There's a lot of battle and it's violent. It is dark as well. So in a nutshell, that's kind of what the series is about without me getting into too much detail. But I ended up giving this book 4.5 stars. I thought that this was the perfect closure to the entire series. I loved the way it ended. There were some scenes in this book that I will never forget. Probably some of the best scenes that I have read in a book are in this book. Just some really incredible moments. The writing is superb. It's Sarah J. Maas. The woman can write, okay? There is so much action in this book, but not only is there a lot of action, there's also a lot of very emotional, deep scenes in this one as well. The character development, the relationships between the characters is just so good. It is just so good. I will say though that I think, in my opinion, that this book is way too long. Like I said, it's 1,000 pages. I feel like it could have been 700 maybe. There were just some scenes that were very drawn out, some very slow moments where I was like, okay, like let's get to the point. So I do feel like there were some areas in this book, some little pockets that were just drawn out and entirely too long. There is also a lot that comes out in this book, like a lot of secrets are revealed in this book, and I will say I found myself in some of those parts being a little bit overwhelmed because there's just so much coming at me all at once, and there are a lot of characters in this series, and so I don't know if that's just me. I don't know. Sometimes fantasy can be a lot for me when it's so detailed and when there's so much world building, so many politics, just so much stuff going on all at once, and there's a ton of moving parts. And there were a couple of times in this book where I was like, wait, what just happened? Like, I had to like reread it like 3 or 4 times because it was just a lot. But other than that, I thought this book was incredible. The series as a whole is a really great series. I had a really good time reading it. It was definitely an experience of a lifetime. I will say that. This is the next book I read. It's called The Good Lie. And this is a psychological thriller. We read this in my book club for July, and we actually just had our meeting about it. And for the most part, a lot of the people that read this book really enjoyed it as well. It got a lot of 4 stars and some 5 stars as well. This is like just a really short, quick, fast-paced thriller. And one of the main characters in this book, her name is Gwen, and she's a psychiatrist and she specializes in killers. She has like a lot of knowledge on how their mind works. She has a really good knack for criminal profiling, and a lot of her patients have violent tendencies. I'll just say that. Now, in this book, there is a serial killer, and everyone knows him as the Bloody Heart Killer. There have been 6 victims so far, and they are all teenage boys. One of his victims ends up getting away and escaping, and he identifies the killer as one of the teachers at the local high school. And then in comes Robert, who is a defense attorney, and he is actually the father of one of the Bloody Heart serial killer's victims. And he basically comes in and does not believe that this teacher that is being identified is the killer. So Robert and Gwen start working together to create a profile of who they think the Bloody Heart Killer is. And then, of course, as in all psychological thrillers, all of these secrets start coming out, and there are so many different pieces of the puzzle that Gwen is trying to put together, and things just kind of start unraveling from there. But I really enjoyed this. I ended up giving it 4 stars. One of the things that I loved the most about this book was the very heavy psychological theme. This book goes into a lot of detail about like psychological disorders like schizophrenia and dissociative identity disorder. I actually have a degree in psychology and my minor is in criminology. It just talks about a lot of the things that I am very interested in. A fun fact about me is that back when I was in college, which was like way back, I actually wanted to be a criminal profiler. I am not doing that now, but nonetheless, it was something that I, at one point in my life, really wanted to do. And this book talks a lot about criminal profiling. And so for me, it was just super interesting. I also felt like I was reading an episode of Law & Order SVU. That's what this book felt like to me. If I had to explain it in one sentence, I would say just take an episode of Law & Order SVU and put it in a book. And I feel like that's what this is. So if you are a fan of dark psychological thrillers, then I would absolutely recommend you read this one. The next book I read in July was Yours Truly by Abby Jimenez. I actually did an entire reading vlog on this book, so I will link that down below in the description if you want to check that out. It doesn't have any spoilers or anything, so it's basically just me reading the book and sharing my thoughts along the way. But I ended up loving this book. I gave it 4 stars. This is a rom-com, and it is actually the companion novel of Part of Your World. So if you've read Part of Your World, there's a character in that book, Bree, and this book is basically Bree's story. But this is about Bree and Jacob, and they are both doctors at a hospital. And Jacob is someone who has a very severe social anxiety. He doesn't really like being around a lot of people in social situations. He doesn't really like meeting new people. Now, when him and Bree first meet, they actually don't get along very well. He is a new doctor in Bree's hospital, and she actually feels a little bit threatened by him because he's wanting to get a promotion, and she feels like Jacob might end up taking her job. So they just don't start off on the right foot. Then Jacob ends up writing her a letter, basically explaining why he's acting the way that he's acting. And this letter really helps Bree to understand him a lot more, and she ends up feeling awful about how she's been treating him, and they kind of just start exchanging letters back and forth, and they end up becoming a lot closer and actually becoming friends. But I really ended up enjoying this book, and I am picky with rom-coms. It takes a lot for me to love a rom-com, and I really loved this one. I thought this book was so sweet. It had so many like heartfelt moments. It was also hilarious. I found myself laughing out loud so much during this book, and that's a lot for me. It takes a lot for me to audibly laugh out loud when I am reading a rom-com, and this one really did get me. I had such a fun time reading this. I absolutely loved Jacob as a character as well. I thought that Abby Jimenez did such a good job of portraying social anxiety and making it feel so relatable, because I think a lot of us have anxieties in one way or another. And so there's a lot of things that happen in this book that are very relatable, to where I was like, oh my God, I do that. Or I know exactly how he's feeling. So it was just very relatable in that way. And I really enjoyed and appreciated that that was represented in this book. So if you're looking for a really cute and heartfelt and warm rom-com that's gonna make you laugh and just like feel something, then I think you would really enjoy this one, because I felt like this book had a lot of depth in it. And it wasn't like your typical surface level rom-com. It had a lot of depth in the relationships and in the themes in this book. So I would highly, highly recommend this one. I actually liked this better than Part of Your World. Okay, the next book I read is Missing Child. And I read this book because one of my really good friends really loved it. And she was like, you need to read that book. So I bought it. I mean, but this was like a super short, quick read. I think I read this in less than 2 days. But it has like a little over 200 pages. And I would classify this as like a thriller slash mystery slash whodunit kind of situation. But I ended up giving this one 4 stars. This is about Caitlin, who has a stepson by the name of Jordy. One day she drops Jordy off at school, and when she gets home, she basically gets a phone call from the school telling her that no one can find Jordy and he's missing. Obviously, she is freaking out. The whole town basically starts a huge search for him. And then there is a big secret that is revealed. And when this secret was revealed in the book, I was like, oh, okay. It was really good, and it wasn't something that I was expecting, but there's a secret that comes out a little bit close to the beginning of the book, and things are just like slowly unraveling, and the pieces of the puzzle are being put together, and secrets that you think have nothing to do with Jordy's disappearance, you kind of start to question like, oh wait, could that maybe have to do with why he's missing? And so there's just like all these different puzzle pieces that are kind of up in the air. And then as you continue reading, everything kind of comes together and everything starts to make sense. It's one of those books where you kind of suspect all of the characters as having to do with Jordy's disappearance. It's one of those things where you're like, wait, that guy sounds kind of suspicious, or that girl's acting kind of weird. Like, do you think she has something to do with it? It's like one of those things. As you're reading, you're constantly questioning all of the characters. I also really loved the writing in this book. I had never read a book by Patricia McDonald before. To be honest, I had never even heard of this book or this author. But I really liked her writing because it was very simple. It was simple and it was easy to read. And when I say simple, I mean that in a very good way. I wasn't having to really like think, you know, I was able to just like turn off my brain and just get lost in the book, and it wasn't hard to understand. And the story itself was very mysterious, and it kind of felt like a movie. Like this would be a really good movie. But just a heads up before reading this, it does have to do with violence against children. So just want to put that out there before you read this. And then lastly, I read Twisted Love by Anna Wong. I couldn't put it down. I was addicted to this book. This is a spicy adult romance. This is the first book in the series. There are 3 more books that I have sitting on my shelf right now that I will be reading very soon. But this is about Alex and Ava. Alex is Ava's brother's best friend. Alex is Ava's brother's best friend. And Ava is in college, and Alex is a few years older than her, so he's already out of college, he's graduated already. But Ava's brother ends up leaving the country and basically asks Alex to look after her while he's gone. He's very protective of her, and he doesn't like the idea that she's gonna be alone without him. They are very, very close. And so he basically tells Alex, please look after my sister while I'm gone. Make sure she's not getting into any trouble. Make sure she's safe. And Ava's like, I don't need a babysitter. Like, I'm good. But Alex is like, listen, your brother told me to watch out for you, so that's what I'm gonna do. So they start off kind of rocky as well. I wouldn't say they're enemies, but they don't get along. Like they're not besties, you know? And Alex is the type of guy who is very, very closed off. He's unemotional. He's kind of a grump. He doesn't do like serious relationships. His relationships are very physical, I will say that. And Ava is very opposite of that. She is like a hopeless romantic, and she's very sweet, and she's very positive, and she's just a light. She's like a light in the darkness kind of person. And each of them has a pretty broken past. This book goes into details of their life and things that happened to them when they were younger that have really affected them. And I really liked that because it provided more depth in the storyline. This is a romance novel, but you do get to learn a lot about Alex and Ava's life and just like different types of trauma that they went through as children. Now, obviously, Ava and Alex form a relationship, and when they do, a lot of dark secrets start coming out. And these secrets are things that could really destroy their relationship. But I loved this book. I gave it 5 stars. I had such a good time reading this. I was heavily entertained by this. And this book also has like a mystery type of undertone to it, which I was not expecting. And I really enjoyed that. So it does have some dark moments. Like, I don't know that I would consider this a dark romance, but it does have some dark themes to it. It's sort of unpacking a lot of trauma that both of them have gone through as well. This book is also very spicy. The spice is so good in this book. I just loved everything about this book. I thought it was so good. It was so fun. It was so entertaining, and I just loved it. And I can't wait to read the rest of the series. So those are all the books that I read in July. If y'all have read any of these, I would love to know your thoughts in the comments. My husband Jacob picked out all the books that I'm going to be reading next month in August, and I am just so excited to read them. I do have a video up on my channel of him picking all the books that I'm going to be reading. So if you're interested in watching that, I will link that down below in the description. It is such a fun video. But August is going to be a very dark month for me. I'll just say that. But I am so excited about it because y'all, I am like already in fall mode. Like, my brain is already done with summer and I'm ready to get into all of my dark books, my horror, my thrillers, my dark romance. Like, I am ready for it. But anyway, y'all, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see y'all in my next one. Bye.